news analysis, commentary, conversation. This is Table Talk with Paul Beaulieu, Tracie Washington, and Blayne Bondy.
Welcome to Table Talk. I'm Paul Beaulieu, and I am with Blayne Bondy and Tracie Washington. Guys, how you doing today?
Doing all right.
Good. Congratulations on getting the first show under our belt. Feedback's been pretty positive, I think. You know?
I'm happy with it.
All righty. Our issue for today wanted to talk about something I've kind of described as running silently, but running deep. And I think both of you would agree that it's an important issue, something that's looming in the near future that could have a serious impact on us in New Orleans as well as the state of Louisiana, and that is reapportionment and redistricting. Kind of describe for us, if you will, and we start with you, Tracie, the landscape of this whole redistricting issue. What is it we're talking about? When is it going to hit us? And what might be some of the implications? Kind of frame it up for us.
I'll frame it big picture, and I know Blayne's got a lot of research on it, but every 10 years the Constitution requires that we do a census all across the United States. And it's through this census that we reapportion those 435 congressional seats throughout the country. That is the reapportionment on the federal level, where there is a divvying up based upon the population and population shifts and what comes from the census, those 435 seats. The redistricting is the local redrawing of your legislative lines, be it for the federal seats or in Louisiana. We have redistricting that makes determination for our legislative seats, also for BESE, our Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, and for our Supreme Court, Louisiana Supreme Court. Many other localities may use the district lines in determining, for example, what the councils will look like and what the district lines for the city councils will look like. But those are the state-mandated redistricting lines that we're going to be dealing with. The reason why it's sort of the, we won't be as dramatic as saying the silent killer, but this year the reason why it's taken on such tremendous importance is because of the outmigration of population out of Louisiana post-hurricanes Katrina and Rita, and the potential for loss on the federal level of one of our congressional seats. And I think that's something Blayne and I have been talking about, just what's going on and who those players are, right, exactly, behind the scenes with that.
Exactly. Essentially, really, March 19th, Louisiana Family Forum, which is a 501(c), but of course, it can't be politically aligned, but it's very conservative. The week of March 19th, they hit the legislative floor at the state level and basically were disseminating maps of proposed changes. That was not by coincidence. Earlier in the month, there about the week of March 9th, the Supreme Court had recently done a ruling on the Voting Right Act of 1965, Section 2, predominantly with a case in North Carolina, which the whole country was focusing its efforts on because it was going to have some effects on redistricting on a state level, as well as reapportionment on the federal level. Basically, in a very narrow decision, the Supreme Court ruled that majority-minority districts are not guaranteed. Okay, now it was a very close vote. Louisiana, as Tracie's already said, is one of the hotbed states for reapportionment because of the outward flow of migration. But here's a very interesting fact that has not really caught a lot of news headlines. There are some demographers who have already determined that the majority of the state's loss has not come from the New Orleans area, but actually from the northern part of the state. So districts 4 and 5, which kind of split Shreveport in the Monroe area, is really the areas that have lost the most. But because it's two different districts, they're saying, well, you know, the second district, which is really just the city of New Orleans and a small sliver of Jefferson Parish, is the one that you need to focus your attention on. But there are a lot of people who are saying, what's really the difference between Monroe and Shreveport? maybe that should be one district. Chances are their political philosophies are very similar. It's no secret that these are both Republican districts, and the one that they're talking about maybe adjoining with another district is a Democratic district, which is the 2nd congressional district, and the 3rd congressional district, which has Charlie Melancon as his representative. So the I don't want to say the propaganda, but the suggestions have already started. But it's not just on the federal level, as Tracie has said. There's going to be a lot of changes on the state level. The Lower Ninth Ward is certainly probably going to lose a seat. I had an opportunity to speak with Representative Marchand Stiles, and she says that she's pretty much guaranteed that her district is going to be removed, deleted. So it has a lot of implications, and the posturing started there about March, and it's only going to get worse as the months progress.
Legislative seats, Baton Rouge state legislative seats could very well be affected. You said Marchand's district is
exactly.
Will configurations in other districts change, you think? The East, for example.
I was going to say, it's almost certain that New Orleans East will also lose one of its seats. But you know, the state is the city is the fastest growing part of the state right now. Obviously, a lot of people are trying to come back home. So, you know, 2010 is still, you know, we still have the better part of a year before the census is wrapped up, and we don't know how those numbers are really going to look. Maybe the dent in some of these areas won't be that significant. Maybe, like we said, some of the other parts of the states that people haven't concentrated much on will see more significant changes than we're seeing in the New Orleans metropolitan area. But I think that we still have a lot of time to disseminate that information.
What I get is an uneasiness amongst people who are aware of this, and most people aren't. This is not on the front burner for a lot of people. But because of a lot of things that have transpired, particularly in New Orleans, consolidation of offices, different things have changed, school board changing hands, etc. Levy districts. African Americans are uneasy. I mean, when you say reapportionment, redistricting. How is that going to hurt us? That's the thing. Is there some merit to that uneasiness?
I believe so. I mean, I don't think that that folks, you know, that old expression, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean it isn't true. I think folks look around and they say, you know, this is just another thing that we have to deal with. The same folks who are subject to possibly losing political power are those same individuals and groups of individuals demographically who've had a tougher time getting back into the city. It's our lower income individuals who in New Orleans and Orleans Parish are predominantly African American or Latino. And it is because those individuals have had so many barriers put in place in getting back that they feel, look, we're still trying. And that's why, frankly, this census count on April 1 is so critically important. It is so critically important that folks, if you're home, you think you're home, you look like you kind of might be home, that you count that home address in the 701 as they say, the 504, as you count that as your home address. And I know we're probably going to get to it in the next segment. We talk about it in terms of African Americans and Latinos, and these are traditionally some of the harder to count communities. You know, we live in different households. We may have 3 or 4 people sharing a household, things of that nature. But it's important for this entire community because keep in mind, federal dollars follow heads. They follow people. So we can pretend to, you know, cut off our nose to spite our face with these numbers and playing with these numbers, but at the end of the day, if you can't show the population, you're not going to get the money.
We got to take a little break. One of the things I want us to think about while we're on the break, you mentioned Representative Marchand's district might be. What happens? Are we talking merger? Are we talking what happens to the people who live there? And how will they be represented? We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Table Talk.